What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. Got some breaking news on the Michael Benson Twitter, who's a boxing writer. And he got his information from @Lancion, WBA, WBC, and IBF junior middleweight champion Jermell Charlo and WBO junior middleweight champion Brian Caetano are in negotiations for a matchup to take place on July the 3rd or July the 10th. The fight will be a part of a pay-per-view card potentially involving Errol Spence Jr., who holds the IBF and the WBC welterweight title, versus WBA welterweight champion Spence-Ugas. He's got the full version of the WBA title, the super version of the WBA title. This fight is said to take place in Texas. The front runner for the fight to host the fight is AT&T Stadium, Dallas, Texas. Now the fight could still land in San Antonio, Texas, in the Alamo Dome. Spence-Ugas probably gonna want a little bit more money to fight in Errol Spence's hometown. You know, he still has problems with the decision that was made when he fought Sean Showtime Porter. That fight took place in the StubHub Center, formerly known as the StubHub Center. They call it something else now, in Carson, California, IA. He felt he got the wrong end of the stick in the judges' scorecards in that fight. And he knows that if he doesn't knock out Errol Spence Jr. or dominate him, maybe drop him multiple times, it's going to be hard for him to get a decision in Errol Spence's hometown of Dallas, Texas. So that fight could possibly be held in San Antonio, Texas, Alamo Dome. That fight hosted another PPC card last October, 31st to be exact, on Halloween, featuring Gervonta Tank Davis versus Leo Santa Cruz Showtime pay-per-view card. So we will see what happens. We will see what transpires. But this is going to be a very interesting pay-per-view card. I don't know if they're going to do it. They're still working on the details. I don't know if they're going to do it something like how they did the Charlo Twins doubleheader, where they'll have Jermell Charlo headlining his own pay-per-view event during the day session, like Jermell, his brother, did on their twin pay-per-view card that took place in September of 2020. And that fight also took place on a Showtime pay-per-view. You know, he headlines the card, and then they have the night session where Errol Spence Jr. versus Spence-Ugas will headline the night session of the pay-per-view card. Or maybe they do it like this. Maybe they put Jermell Charlo on regular Fox. Basically, his own card on regular Fox, like they doing with the Ezralanda Lara, who's going to have his own card basically on the regular Fox in lead up to the Andy Ruiz versus Chris Arreola Fox pay-per-view card. Maybe they do it like that too, but that's what they're working on right now. So PBC is trying to get some things going, man. And this is where the PBC is going right now, especially when we're in this pandemic. Most big fights, it ain't got to be a super fight, but most big fights are going to land on pay-per-view. Spence-Ugas, Errol Spence Jr. pay-per-view. Jermell Charlo versus Brian Caetano, a fight that probably should be on Fox or Showtime, is going to be on pay-per-view. It's for undisputed. You got to understand that. But Jermell Charlo just recently started headlining his own fights. He ain't been headlining his own fight. He was an undercard fighter to probably his last 3 fights. He probably been doing the main event. Even when he lost his belt to Tony Harrison, that wasn't no main event. That was on the undercard. That wasn't even the main event on that card. So the rematch obviously was Fox. It was a headliner, and then he headlined his own pay-per-view card when he fought and stopped Jason Rosario. As far as this matchup goes, Jermell Charlo is a guy that's got sick power. He's like the Deontay Wilder of the junior middleweight division. This guy's got sick power. But he can't be outpointed. He can't be outmaneuvered. He can't be outboxed. Tony Harrison was outboxing him for a lot of that fight in the second fight, and even in the first fight as he won a split decision. He can't be outmaneuvered. You know, you just got to be real careful. The guy's got sick power. You can't make no mistakes. If he touch you, he's going to put you down. And he could, and put you down for the count. So this guy's got real sick power, but he can be maneuvered. And he's a guy that's, in my opinion, sometimes gets backed up. Tony Harrison was able to back him up. And when you back a guy up, he's a little bit more vulnerable than when he's coming forward. But unlike Deontay Wilder, Jermell Charlo can fight going backwards, as he was able to fight off the back foot and hurt Tony Harrison and Jason Rosario. He was able to fight more effectively off the back foot than Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder's going to have to get that fixed, man, because every fight he has from now on, guys are going to rush him. They're going to bum rush him and make him fight off the back foot, and he's going to have to prove that he can fight off the back foot, and he's going to have to stand his ground and don't easily start maneuvering backwards. He's going to have to stand his ground and start landing some shots to get those guys more respect. Don't just submit and start going backwards, because that's what Tyson Fury was able to do. He was a bigger guy. He was able to do it and back up Deontay Wilder. And his next opponent, they will be trying to implement the same game plan. But as far as Jermell Charlo goes, it's going to boil down to Brian Caetano. He's going to try to back him up. He's going to try to rough him up. He's going to try to do what he did against Arizona Lara in a fight that a lot of people thought he won. That fight ended in a draw. He's going to try to back Jermell Charlo up, get him on the ropes, rough him up. But the problem is Jermell Charlo can fight off the back foot. He can explode off them ropes and land critical punches to back you up and then get you more toward in the middle part of that ring. And once he's able to do that, he can start firing off his right hand. He can start firing off his left hook, and he can start landing real potent and powerful shots. So we will see what happens. We will see what transpires. It's going to come down to Brian Caetano. Can he take those shots? You know, his defense is not as sloppy as Jason Rosario, who made a lot of mistakes in that fight, got caught with a lot of shots, but he's so overly aggressive on the offensive end as that being Jason Rosario. He leaves himself wide open to counter shots, and Jermell Charlo was able to exploit that. Brian Caetano defense is a little bit more tighter than that, but he still gets hit a lot, because when you're an aggressive offensive-minded fighter, you're going to be leaving yourself open to shots, and I think that's going to be Brian Caetano's downfall. He's going to get caught with some shots. I think he's going to have his moments where he's going to be able to land shots and back Jermell Charlo up, but his being an aggressive offensive-minded fighter is going to be his downfall on a guy like Jermell Charlo, who can see a lot of those shots coming and catch him with a lot of straight shots, a lot of straight accurate combinations, 2, 3, 4-punch combinations. And he's going to be able to get off and land that right hand. And I think he drops Brian Caetano multiple times en route to a unanimous decision win. I think he's going to be getting off the canvas a couple of times in this fight. But I think Brian Caetano has a lot of heart. He's a tough-minded fighter. He might, he will be able to get up and beat the count and continue on, but he's going to be taking some shots, man. And I don't think his chin is as bad as Tony Harrison's or Jason Rosario. So I think he'll get dropped a couple of times, but I think his pride and his toughness and tenacity will will him to get back up. But those couple of knockdowns will put him behind the 8 ball in a very close and competitive fight. And I look for Jermell Charlo to win a unanimous decision to become undisputed at 154 pounds. As far as Spence-Ugas versus Errol Spence Jr., Spence-Ugas got to solve that jab. If he can't solve the jab that Errol Spence presents, which in my opinion is the best jab in boxing, he's gonna be constantly have to reset, and he's not gonna be able to get anything consistently off on the offensive repertoire that he possesses. So I think that's going to be the key to that. He's going to have to get inside that jab and work the body and back up Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. does a good job of setting that jab up, and when you try to land shots, he does a good job of setting that jab and backing up and getting out the way and nullifying your offense. He's a very good in and out type of fighter. Very good in and out type of fighter. A lot of people talk about how he's able to be aggressive, jab, and get you against the ropes and work to the body. But when you're trying to get your offense in, he does just a good job of getting out of harm's way. I think somebody made one of those boxing legends, a boxing trainer said, getting in the water and not even getting wet or something like that. Something like that. I forgot who said. Nassim Richardson said that. He does a good job of getting in the boat and swimming upstream and swimming with a lot of waves in the water, but not getting wet. That's what I mean about Errol Spence Jr. He's able to get in, get the jab off, get his shots off, and then when you try to counter, he's out of there. He's out of harm's way. He's got great footwork, going backwards and going forwards. He's got one of the best footworks in boxing. Him and Terrence Crawford. That's why that's going to be a great fight. You got two guys that have great footwork. A lot of people say, oh, Errol Spence Jr.'s got slow feet. No, he's got great footwork. I don't know if his feet is as quick as Terrence Crawford or Manny Pacquiao for that matter, but he has very good footwork. It might not be as quick, but it's very precise and it's very structured and it's very with a purpose. And he's got his footwork fundamental is second to none, that being Errol Spence Jr. So that's going to be a tremendous matchup, tremendous card. Look for this fight to take place on Fox pay-per-view. Dallas, Texas is the front runner, but Spence-Ugas them might insists on moving the fight to San Antonio, Texas, because he's in fear of getting a bad home down decision scorecard in favor of Errol Spence Jr. Maybe they move it to San Antonio. As like I said, they've had fights there. You know, Tank Davis versus Leo Santa Cruz. Maybe they can put it there, but it's definitely happening in the state of Texas, in Dallas, Texas, AT&T Stadium being the front runner. Let me know your thoughts on this potential matchup. Your Spence-Ugas versus Errol Spence Jr. I seen somebody out there I know. What's up, man? And Jermell Charlo versus Brian Caetano. Let me know your thoughts on who you think gonna win those two fights. It'll be a decision, a knockout, or who you like in those two fights. Let me know your thoughts and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. I'll holla.